So before we bring them on, I have a few questions. Do you have kids? Are they constantly on their devices? I know for one, in my family, everyone's glued to iPads and Chromebooks and Netflix and Xbox One and you name it. And guess what? I'm having a problem with managing screen time. Because you know how I manage screen time? I usually manage screen time by saying, okay, and I start yelling and screaming, or my wife starts yelling and screaming, for my 8-year-old to get off their Chromebook. And then you're sitting there playing the game, walking up behind them to see if they're on or off their Chromebook. And I would say 99.9% of the time, even after you told them to get off the device, they're somehow connected in some way or chatting with one of their buddies from school. So me personally, I need a solution. And I went out and I think I got one of the best. And I want to really introduce Mr. Stephen Pack, inventor of Koala Safe. Stephen, how you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Are you coming live tonight from Australia, or are you in the States?
Coming live from San Francisco, actually, but still with the Australian accent.
Okay, gotcha. Steve, thanks so much for taking the time tonight. I will say to you, may the force be with you also.
Yeah, thank you.
I will say, help us out. Help our listeners out, because everyone is fighting with their young ones with screen time. We're running into all types of issues. We don't know what to do. People text me and send me direct messages on Twitter for suggestions, and I said, you know what, I need to get an expert on here. So I want to turn this microphone over to you and hear your story.
Yeah. Well, firstly I'd say, thanks for having me on. And, that sort of problem and people reaching out to you, that was exactly what happened to me. And a couple of years ago, I was at my sister's place, and, my nephew had just got really into Minecraft, which, along with YouTube is one thing I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with their kids getting addicted to or obsessed with.
Yes.
And, he was right into this Minecraft. And don't get me wrong, Minecraft's actually an awesome game. It actually teaches kids a lot, but it is also incredibly addictive. And it got to, I think at bedtime it was 8 o'clock, and she sort of, told him to get off. And, this sort of, it started out with a bit like, just 5 minutes more. And, she would joke around saying, oh, you're obsessed with that. And no, I'm not. But as time went on, it became really quite fierce. And, the arguments became worse and worse. And it became pretty clear that it was, just no longer healthy and no longer fun. And she made a throwaway comment to me, which was to say, Steve, if you could just make a box that would turn the internet off at bedtime, then I would be your first customer. And, as a computer nerd, I took that as a challenge and, got to working on a prototype, and that was actually where Koala Safe was born. And it's been quite a journey since then, but, just that similar fight that, everybody's seen and everybody's had is where it all began.
That's great. That's great to hear, because, I mean, so tell me this much, and this question might come from out of left field, but with you being in the tech world, at what point did technology become the parent?
Well, I take exception there. Like we and when we advertise, actually, sometimes we get trolled on social media occasionally, or in other forums where 90% of people will say, "Thank God, like this is such a useful tool," whereas others will be like, why do parents need technology? Can't they just be parents? Technology is not the parent. Technology is just a tool. And technology and tools help you do stuff. So there's no doubt that if, you can get your kids off their devices, like, of course, every parent can do that. it might be harder for some than others, depending on, whether they've always had very strict discipline in the area and depending on how spirited their child is. But technology like Koala Safe, for example, can make it a lot easier because, you just set it up. Say, right, 8 o'clock, that's bedtime. 8 o'clock, internet goes off. There's no flack to be had. There's no, what's happened? Well, the internet's off. It's 8 o'clock. That's just what it is. And that's been one of the really powerful things for our product and one of the really powerful learnings for us as a company, which is just that there's a psychological difference for kids when something happens on a schedule that's just sort of enforced by the computer. They're used to computers telling them, what's happening and, what time things are happening and when things are on and when they're off. And when they see the internet's off and it tells them when it'll next be on again, they're a lot more able to sort of process that and accept that than when they hear it from their parents.
Steve, I kind of think of when I've been in the computer lab or in a specific library and it states, hey, you have 15 minutes on this workstation. And you're going to pay attention to it. You're not going to lollygag around. You're really going to be into it, and you're going to say, oh, my goodness, let me get, to whatever I need to get to because, my time is about to run out. And I think you're totally correct. So tell me this much about Koala Safe. Is the solution itself hardware and software?
Yes, that's right. Hardware and software. The best way to explain it is maybe to quickly just say what happens when you buy it, right? And you get a box in the mail, it arrives. So it's a physical box. You plug it into your router, and once you do that, you'll see a new Wi-Fi network in your house. So you might have had Comcast 123 before. Now you'll have Comcast 123, and you'll have Koala Safe. And then you join your kids' devices to Koala Safe. And that's you as a parent, you're unchanged. Your kids are now on this dedicated Koala Safe network. And then the last step is that you download our app onto your phone as the parent, and in that app you say, okay, the internet's on at this time and it's off at this time. And you might you can block out some content if you want as well. You might say, I'm okay with the kids on Instagram, but I don't want them on Facebook. So you block that out. And it's just really sort of simple configuration on your phone, and that's the way you control it. So, yeah, it's the hardware creating that dedicated network for your kids, and then really simple software on your phone to do the controls.
So, is there a specific age range of what's the specific age range, or is there no age range that this type of product should be focused on?
Yeah, we get asked that a lot, and our sort of, the answer to that's really changed as we've seen over time how people use it. We used to sort of say, well, we think, probably from about 6 to about 12, is when kids need help with this stuff. But we've, the bottom end of it gets lower and lower and lower. Our first customers included people saying, our 4-year-old's obsessed. We need to put some sort of rules in place. And then, that number just keeps going down. 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, they're born with these devices now. And it's of course it's a good thing, for kids to have access to them and to learn technology. We all need it in life. But, they're obviously not at an age that young when they can, regulate how much time they spend on it. So, what's the lower end of our products? Honestly, there is no lower age anymore. For the upper end, once kids get to their late teens, then, they've probably got their own phone and their own car and, they're able to go out to get out of the house. So there it really depends on the teenager and the family. But definitely kids up to even 16 who have trouble focusing on their homework, where they've got, just Facebook messages and Instagram notifications coming through, being able to, as a parent, just to block out that social media, during homework time, is also really useful.
Steve, I got to ask you a silly question, and I say it's silly because we're both techs by trade. the silly question is, if let's just say it's the 12-year-old, the 13-year-old that kind of knows, hey, I can go log on to my LTE network.
Mm-hmm.
Does QualiSafe have a safeguard for something like that, or does it send any type of notification to say, hey, your 10 Hicks device 123 just jumped off the network or anything else like that?
Good question, Ted. Good question. Right now, there isn't anything to prevent the data access, like the LTE access.
Okay.
I guess once you've given your child a phone with LTE access, then you've basically sort of given up on the the control aspect, and you've given them the freedom to do that. That said, there is a usage feature on the phone, so you can have a look at on the app. So you can have a look at when your kids were on their devices on QualiSafe. So yeah, if they are meant to be doing their homework from say 5 till 6, and you can go on and see that there's just no internet activity, or there's no internet activity to the homework sites that they're meant to be on, then that they're not doing what they're meant to be doing. So there's not a prevention, I guess, but the information's there in order for you to act on as a parent if you need to.
Got you. Hey, Steve, I got a couple of other questions, and I know we're tight for time. So is it strictly at phones, or have you expanded to, let's say, streaming devices or game consoles?
Yeah, no, both of those things. So any network device. So
nice.
Yeah, phones, tablets, Chromebooks, Xboxes. Yep, even smart TV. Yeah,
very nice.
Yeah, thanks, Ted. And that's actually one of the insights we had really early on, that the old sort of players in this space, like your nannies and those sort of ones, and they had to be installed on every device. And
right.
They came from an era when every device just meant a Windows PC sitting in the lounge room, and that's just not the case anymore. Like we see sort of 7 and 8 devices as sort of around the average of that are in the home, like not all being used at the same time, but that are there. So expecting parents to install some app or some security software on every one of those devices that works for Apple and Microsoft and Android and TVs and whatever, and expecting to check that it's up to date and all that, it's not feasible anymore. That's why we have the hardware device that does everything there in that central point and controls in a really familiar way with the phone.
Steve, at any point do you go non-tech and say, okay, as a family, maybe we should put together some type of family agreement to discuss like the parameters of like your product, and just an overall statement, or amongst the parents to the children, to say, okay, hey, this is what we're putting in place, or like, do most parents just put it in place and don't tell their kids, and then all of a sudden, wham, bam?
No, occasionally we'll hear a story like that. But as you can imagine, if all of a sudden there were no restrictions and then there are, that creates a bit of tension in the household.
Yeah.
So most families, there'll be a discussion, and kids get it. Like they sort of, I think, even though it depends on the child, of course, but they might fight to a degree. But they do understand that unlimited time is not good, and that there needs to be some limitation. But they just don't have that ingrained ability yet to self-regulate. So they sort of get it. Like in our experience, when we talk to parents, like the kids get it that there needs to be some sort of control. And
right.
Having that conversation where you negotiate what's the time and what's appropriate, is a good experience for both parent and child. And things can be extended or pulled back depending on how things are working out. And we've even had parents say, and this isn't great for us as a company, but it's great for the parents. So they'll say, just having it for a period of time and getting our kids used to the fact that there needs to be limits. Once we'd established that we didn't actually have to keep using the device for the limits. It was just to break that initial, obsessive behavior. was enough
Right.
for us to sort of get a healthier environment in the home, which, you know, we sort of want to see the product providing value all through the life cycle. But, you know, if for some families they only need it for a few months to, you know, to create that healthier experience, well, that's great too.
Next to last question. With Koala Safe, on the interface, is there like a countdown ticker? Let's say like when you get to less than 5 minutes, or is there anything, or does like when you hit that point, that limit that was set, it just shuts off all, you know, network access? How is that, you know, interpreted by the child and or, you know, parent?
Yeah, good question. So it's not there now. It's not on. It is on the future roadmap, but there isn't a sort of a countdown just yet. Saying that, the first time after Koala Safe's been installed in the home, even when the kids know the time that it's going off, when it first happens, the very first time they'll get a surprise. But very, very soon after that, they start to keep an eye on the time because they know that it's coming. And, you know, it's like you were saying in the lab, like even there, okay, you were getting the notification, but if you sort of know that you've only got, you know, that when you get home from school, that
right,
you know, the internet's going off in 2 hours, then you know that, you know, sort of you use the time, you know, well. So, you know, we'd like to put that in, and we've had some sort of parents write in with some cool suggestions, like to actually, you know, shape the box with a, you know, in the shape of a plastic koala with a clock on the top, you know, which would be pretty awesome. I haven't sort of got a quote from our supplier for doing that sort of thing yet. You can imagine it's not quite bubbled to the top of our list, but that would be pretty cool.
Right. So Steve, I wanted to ask you your strategic plan or your vision for Koala Safe. Let's say if I asked you, hey, 6 to 12 months, where do you want to see Koala Safe? What do you want the product to be? Yeah.
Well, like firstly, I want it in 1 million homes. You know, like we just, you know, it helps people, it helps kids, it makes everybody happier, it creates a healthier environment, and it just gets that good balance between, you know, screen time, which is important so that kids learn all the technology, and playtime, because they need to develop, you know, in other ways, physically, emotionally, you know, in all sorts of ways. It brings that balance and makes, you know, them healthier, more well-rounded. So, you know, I want to see that in many homes as I can. So, you know, 1 million homes, that's my first goal, and we talk about that a lot internally. And, you know, part of that is parents just knowing that there are solutions out there. Like, parents are constantly talking with each other about, you know, this as a problem, but how do they solve it? And they just don't know that there are solutions. So I just, you know, I want people to be able to say, like, I've got this problem, and, you know, I know that I can solve it with Koala Safe. So, yeah, that's the first goal. We want to be a household name, helping as many families as we can.
Perfect. Steve, I want to give you a round of applause, but before I do that, tell us best ways to find out more information about Koala Safe.
Okay, cool. Yeah, easiest way, koalasafe.com. That's the website. You'll find plenty of info on there. We've also found a lot of our customers